Where'd he go? There he is. Oh, there's a little machine. Look at that. Go. What's up, guys? Looks like Steve has been replaced by the Adam Stack. What is that? The P1?
Oh. Yeah, it's P1.
He's got a ocean blue background. Looks like he's engraving something, actually.
Cut test, actually.
Well, that didn't work.
Ooh. Making us dizzy.
I was trying to give you the whole screen, but it didn't work out. So what's up, everybody? A lot of you guys, we'll give it just a few minutes. We're not going to give it too many, but a lot of you guys know that there's going to be a little something going on here shortly. Let me go ahead and get that kicked up where we can go ahead and dropping it, because I got to make some room in my shop.
I mean, it's not that big. It doesn't take up that much space.
I got two of them in the boxes, though. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. Let's
I think I underestimated the cutting ability of a 5-watt.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably got that same like small dot size that they used with the craft. It'll surprise you.
Yeah, I mean that, and it's been a while since I've
hadn't played with one in a while.
Well, it was that Acmer, however you say their name, that 6-watt one. That one was kind of surprising too. Granted, I am using some basswood.
Let me put that in brackets or something.
I picked up the local Joann's Fabric was closing, because they all are around.
Joann's Fabric. What is that? Never heard of that.
You've never heard of Joann's Fabric?
No, unless
well, they're a nationwide craft store that's closing. They went into they had bankruptcy once or twice.
They must not have any near me. I don't know of that one.
Well, they had Carl had to go get some stuff there, and I thought I'd check things out, and they had a stash of this basswood, and so I got this all for like 70% off, which was nice. So,
yeah, I guess everybody got the memo. But yeah, y'all keep putting them in there. For those of you that don't know, I got two of them now. I found the box. I was doing some cleaning the other day, and I found the box for the original one. So one of them is going to actually be the prototype. So there may be some slight differences, but they're very similar. Either one of them, I wouldn't say there's much difference between the two. Both Brandy said there is one in Birmingham across from the Galleria. I've never seen it.
Not for much longer. They're all closing.
There's somebody. Yeah, somebody said there's one in Hoover. Okay, well, I guess maybe I just don't shop enough. I guess I don't know. I never knew what that was. I never knew that was a thing. I know of Michael's. I know of Hobby Lobby. And that's about it. That's all of the ones that I know of. So I got 44 entries so far. So guys, if you're not familiar, read the thing down below. I wanted to try to make sure that whoever got this was actually a viewer of the show and not just some random person that saw it being advertised. So I'm doing it this way. This is not something that Sane Smart told me to do, asked me to do, or anything like that. This is merely the fact that I have no need for these little machines, and these are small enough that I can ship them to you guys without having to have a freight truck or something like that bring them to you. So that's what we're doing. And me and Steve went around about it because there's so many rules about giving stuff away these days that in any way, if I were to fix it to where you had to pay me or you had to even do too many things, like I got to reading into it. If I told you guys to do something that was considered to be an inconvenience, that's technically payment. So to keep it from being frowned upon by the Federal Trade Commission and the FCC, state laws even have little caveats in there. We're doing this free. And anybody that's in here can do the exact same thing. And it's just luck of the draw, whether you win it or not. The only other thing I could have done was made it a skill test. And I could have just like had you guys come up with the best jokes about Steve. And I could have called that a skill. And whoever had the best joke. But that was just too much trouble.
Yeah.
So what you got been working on other than the little atom stack? Was it you said it's a 5-watt one you got in there?
Yeah, that's the P1. It's their mini laser engraver. It's a 5-watt diode, blue diode, but they also sent the IR module for it. So
is that the one where the IR module is bigger than the diode?
Yeah, it actually is.
That was weird. I wasn't expecting that one.
So this is the IR module. The diode one is in there. It's not very big by any means. So this is a 1.2 watt 1064 nanometer, and that's the
Brian got jokes.
5-watt one. So yeah, I've got that on the bench. Going to be running it through some tests. I've done a few already today. Of course, started out with your engrave tests. And this is, I'm pretty sure this is Baltic birch. It was out of my random stash of plywood pile because you can't get anything much bigger than this on there. So it's a great way to use up some scraps. Now they say this machine can go up to 10,000 millimeters a minute, which that's the top of the scale there, but it definitely falls out up there. So I ran it around 4,000, and I also did a line interval test, which isn't going to show up very well on here. I ran it from 0.080 millimeters up to 0.16, somewhere around, it depends on the material, of course. But on this material, I can still see lines if I zoom in with a macro lens at the 0.1, 0.9, it gets iffy. So I've been running at 0.8, but then I noticed on some metal stuff, I was still seeing lines, but I did engrave a photo with it already.
That must be a stock. It doesn't look like Jeff.
No, it's not Jeff. It's one I've used before, which it did a pretty good job on it. This though did take 25 minutes, and it's 3.5 inches square. Actually, 23 minutes.
Yeah, it's a small 5-watt module with a really small dot size, so that's going to exponentially increase the time that it takes. But that's a good looking picture, though.
Of course, it does have a little plate in the bottom that comes out, so I had to make myself.
Look at you,
dog tag holder. Botched test, but I did get a good one to go through. This is a 1,000 millimeters a minute, 80% power. This took 4 minutes, though.
Yeah. Now, that was with the IR module, or that?
Nope, this is with the blue diode. Works on, a purplish color, and, for kicks and grins, we had to try a photo.
Yeah, I heard Ryan and him group talking about your picture that just so happened to have been in the video the other day that you did.
Yeah.
Clack on the laser over there. Which I can't say anything. I've been making sure that every video that I've done, Steve on a stand is sitting back there behind it. And I get so many questions about who's that guy, that picture of that guy back there.
So like I said, the text on here took 4 minutes to do that. So, I mean, I'm looking at this both as, is this okay for someone to get started with, but also really is something like this going to be worth it for a portable laser, to use at shows. Your head on this dog tag took 10 minutes to engrave.
That's not terrible, but that's not the speeds of some of the other machines. But again, the budget wise, you
for the money,
you kind of get what you pay for when it comes to the speed.
Now, in fairness, I mean, this compared to the F1, which we like for portability, no comparison in speed. But this right now, you can buy this for like $250.
That's what I'm saying.
You could have 4 or 6 of them up there for the price.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You kind of can't expect for it to keep up with an F1 or some type of Galvo machine because it is a budget gantry style machine. It's small. I mean, so it's not going to be as fast.
So This is the last thing I've done so far. This is, let me get some backer on there so you can see it. Those are all, this is a 1/8-inch basswood, 200 millimeters a minute. It's still cutting through even at 80% power, and the backside's actually looking pretty clean for not having air assist.
I was fixing to say that's really good for no air.
So I need to cut another piece and bump those speeds up and see where we top out.
Now, did you space that up? I'm assuming it doesn't come with a honeycomb.
So I'm cheating. You might recognize this.
Okay, so you grabbed a plate from one of the other machines.
Yeah.
That's either a laser pecker or an F1.
Yeah, this is just like a nice little knife bed. So,
yeah.
It doesn't come with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do the same thing. Like, I'll get a machine that doesn't have a honeycomb, and I've got extra honeycombs. So,
but anyway,
Trey Skiller says he's got to make a sign like mine. Only 12 more days for him.
Must be for his retirement.
I thought he was already retired, but he works for himself, I guess. Still, because I think didn't he say he was works for himself as like a consultant type thing?
Well, that's still work. Maybe he's going to retire.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just retiring completely. My wife won't let me retire completely because I still had to bring some money in. So I've got to figure out ways to make money with these machines still. Which I think I can. I come up with some new products this week, and I'm going to go ahead this year since I've got the Omni, because man, baseballs and baseball gloves and stuff like that. That was a market that I really wanted to get into, but doing it with just any old laser, it was risky because you stand the risk of trying to make $20 and wind up spending $40 to replace a glove. But now that I've got the Omni up and going, I'm really thinking I'm gonna get into the baseball season this year with the gloves and the balls and all. And then I even had somebody ask me what got it started, and I had somebody ask me if I could engrave pickleballs. I'd never seen a pickleball, but this looks a lot like a wiffle ball from when I was in school. So I was like, yeah, I can try it and see if you've got some that you don't mind me, engraving. And so the lady gave me one, and she's like, here, take it and try it and let me know. And so, of course, I just went off on this side of it, just testing different settings and changing the frequency, changing the pulse rate, trying to get it darker. But I saved the other side so that I could have like an illustration side, so to speak.
Yeah.
So once I got the settings to where it's as dark as I could get it to go, that's when I flipped it around and did a little test right there. So what they're wanting to do is put company logos and URLs on here, and so that's what I'm going to be doing. But I was trying to figure out the settings, and I'm assuming they come in different colors. So I'm going to have to make sure I let her know that if I get a different color, I may need another blank to be able to test it. I mean, I'm sure this setting would change the color of other ones, but the yellow, it seems to work pretty well. So, but there we go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to make me a ball holder to do it with. And matter of fact, I haven't got that camera back online yet. I don't think. No, I do not. I do not have that one. I don't think I got that one. No, I don't got that one online yet. So I'll have to deal with that one here in a little bit.
Well,
I messed my cameras all up earlier playing around. trying to be prepared, and wound up deleting every freaking camera profile on my machine. So I had to rebuild them real quick. Brian said, how old do you have to be to know what a wiffle ball is? Pretty old. It was a little ball that had the plastic bat that when it was raining and they wanted you to stay in the gym and not go outside, they would give you that and tell you to play inside the gym on the basketball court.
Cool.
That was the only time we got to play it. All right. So it looks like we've got like 102 entries into our little competition here. And we will be getting the two. And I think I've got the other camera. Yeah, you can't see it. It's out of camera over there. But But I've got the two Cubicos over there packaged up, taped up, ready to go. They got some swag in there. There may or may not be some Vintage Workshop stickers that I've collected from random places in my shop inside the box as well. So,
hey, that's artwork that you're defacing.
Yeah. News fan says, I'm surprised you were able to get $15 per tumbler for engraving. I've been getting $15 per tumbler for engraving for about 3 years now. If I have somebody that wants, say, 300, which has happened before, sometimes we may bump it down a bit, but pretty much $15. If you want me to put an engrave on anything, you're going to pay $15 basically. Like if you said, hey, I want my initials on the back of whatever, it's going to cost you $15. That you got to consider that more or less a setup, push the button fee. So Klein did a job recently for a business. It was 250 of them, and he did those for $15 as well. That's just the going rate around here. And seeing that there's only me, Klein, and my buddy Tim, and Tim hasn't been doing tumblers because he's been so busy. His setup, he's just not comfortable in his folks' ability to do tumblers without messing up the blanks. And so he steers clear of them when he can. And typically he sends the jobs to me and Klein. So basically we're the only two people in this county that does those. So it's, I'm not trying to kill people with the price, but I'm not going to lose money either, because if you mess up a tumbler, you got to replace that, which, knock on wood, I haven't messed up many in a while. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and get this button pushing underway for you guys. That way we can get on to other stuff. I said, glad y'all could join us. I hope nobody got left out or gets left out of this. I wanted to do it other ways, but the more me and Steve looked at it, the more and more it looked like somebody that didn't like the Clack Shack might have a leg to stand on if they sent an email to somebody and reported me doing something that I shouldn't. So doing it this way, it's open to whoever's in here. Hashtags all you got to do, and good luck to whoever. So here we go. I'm going to move my screen up to the top one. Got 112 entries. Last call, guys. Let me take that banner down as well. Last call. I guess we could do the screen sharing thing over there. Hang on. Let's do it the other way. Yeah, I forgot I could do that. Share screen. Window. That one. There we go. Woo, there we are. Yeah, that looks much more professional right there, Steve.
Sure.
All right, y'all ready to go? Everybody got them in? Got them in? We're gonna roll the dice twice. The first one we'll do the consumer model. This is gonna be the bigger of the two boxes. So this is gonna be the production model that they just sent out. This is gonna be the same one that Steve has. Same one that they're gonna send out if you purchase it. So we're going to go ahead and roll the dice on that one. Last call. All right. So let's see where we at. 175 people. Okay. We'll give it. All right. Where's my little, I got all these timers and I got them sitting around everywhere. Hang on.
Yeah.
Good evening, Clack. 1 minute, starting now.
There we go. All right, Echo's going to let us know. Yeah, Echo's going to let us know when 1 minute is up, and I'm going to hit the button.
Meanwhile, we wait in silence.
Brian, I use my robot, my little trusty shop robot. He answers math questions for me. He does calculations and conversions from millimeters to inches. Like checks my notifications, checks my calendar. Like it's my little personal assistant. So we've 128 entries so far. We've got to be getting close.
Surely we can get to 130.
Well, just as you said that, now we're at 129. So yeah, we'll get there.
I like lowering people's odds. Am I lowering their odds? Yeah, I'm lowering their odds.
Yeah, lowering their odds. More people in the drawing, you're less chance.
Oh, hit 130 right as your timer went off.
Echo says
All
we're
right. Tink. John Thompson.
John Thompson. All right, let me John, if you will email me, clackattheclackshack.com, of course. I'm going to take a picture of this just so I don't forget, and I don't got to go back and watch the whole video. If you'll email me at clackattheclackshack.com and try to let me know for sure that it's you, we'll get that lined up. All right, one more draw. This draw is going to be for the prototype. Prototype it got a lot more use here in the shack. It is slightly different, but it does stuff. Y'all saw me using it. It does stuff. So the box is smaller. So here we go. Going for the second one.
Like that whole wheel.
They need to add the sound effects to it.
Yeah.
Scott Burgum. Scott's one of our regulars. That's good to see. And that was my whole thing. Okay, so I got Scott Burgum for the next. All right, so that's that, guys. So those two guys need to email me at clack@theclackshack.com. There's my email address. If you want to write that down, take a picture of it, whatever, in case you don't know what it is. Just email me with your contact information. Let me know that it's you somehow. If I get like 4 or 5 emails, we may have to go through a little bit of an investigation to confirm the person's whereabouts. But yeah, shoot me an email. I will have to have your mailing address and everything. It's not that I'm planning on coming to visit you or nothing like that, but in order for the UPS guy to bring this to your house, I got to know where your house is. Don't put that in a message here. Just send me that email to that address below, and we will get these shipped to you. It'll be hopefully. It'll probably be Tuesday. I have lots of meetings on Monday mornings. So hopefully Tuesday I'll actually be getting them out. If not before then, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I'll take them to work with me. Actually, I might can talk Brandy into doing it. We'll see. But they'll be out this week. At least the next couple of days, they'll be shipped out. And like I said, one of the things that I will say about this is you guys that are members of the channel, that's what I'm just kind of using that money to ship this stuff out. So I appreciate that because it keeps me from having to pay that, so to speak. But yeah, more to come. Hopefully it will continue to have, I will continue to have things coming in. I know there's still one more machine between the two of us that we don't know the fate of yet, but I'm sure we'll be finding out. And I heard, who else was it? Who was it that said they had ordered one? Was that Hobo?
Hobo. He ordered 2.
Okay.
So he's going to work with one to learn because he's tired of breaking stuff on his bigger one, and then he's going to do a giveaway with the other one. So yeah, more options there, or more opportunities there, I should say. But,
yeah.
I'm going to cut out a couple quick blanks to do a couple more cut tests on this little thing. So give me like 30 seconds.
All right. Well, all right, guys. This is your chance. If you've been wanting to talk about Steve, so he couldn't defend himself, now is your chance. He is walking away from the computer. Feel free. Unleash the Sasquatch jokes now. So I'm going to roll through the comments and see what's going on over here in the comment sections, because I've been piddling with my stuff trying to get all my camera views set back up, and I may have missed something. If you had a question that you've posted and we've missed it, by all means, feel free to post it again. Throw a few question marks up in front of it if you need to, so that we can be sure that we saw it. Because sometimes we do miss things. They just fly past us. Janie's asking, did you guys see the videos for the X2 Meaty? Is that supposed to be metal machine? Maybe.
I'm guessing, because I don't think they've announced anything other than the apparel printer and the metal, whatever they're calling that thing.
Metal fab, isn't it?
Yeah, metal fab. There you go.
Yeah. Janie, I've saw it. I actually was invited to go out to somewhere near San Jose, California. I think it's the same place that Tim and Kim and Garrett. I think it's the same place that Kim and Garrett went out to. I was invited to go out there also and view the machine. I had a bunch of stuff going on and just behind on everything. And so I opted not to go. But it's really cool. As far as the nerd in me, the geek in me, it's cool. I'd love to play with it. I'd love to get to deal with it. The business person in me, though, says that doing what I do, that would take me forever to try to recover my money if I were to buy one of those. And I don't think in the niche that I'm in right now and in the things that I do right now, I don't think I could justify the purchase. Now, if I were more into metal stuff, or if I, have my foot on the pedal of like a market for that, maybe. I do want to one day get me a way to cut metal, but I don't have the funds to be spending on that right now. So I'll probably end up with some type of a plasma cutter if I can get something. If not, then I just won't do metal. You know what I mean? I'll stick with aluminum because I can do aluminum on my CNC. It's not as easy as it would be with a laser, but I can do it. So it's an interesting machine. I like it. I like the technology. There's a couple of other companies that make them also, but that's a big expense for something unless you're already in that metal fabricating arena already. I think it would be a bit of a stretch for those of us that do wood to spend that kind of money just to get into metal, not knowing whether we're going to be able to, capture a market with it or not. So that'd be my thing. What says you there, Steve?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's up there in price. I mean, it's very cool as far as its functionality, and I think it's a safer way to cut metal than, say, a plasma table. It's more enclosed. Oh, yeah. And looks like there's less slag and things like that, but you definitely still pay for it. And yeah, for myself, both between the material costs and just not having a market for it. I mean, I'd have to create the market for it. So I don't have a ready way to say, hey, if I buy this, I know I can recoup my cost, but definitely cool. But yeah, that's an investment for sure. Nice way of saying it's too rich for my blood.
yeah, it's not in the budget right now. ETLC says, do you buy the tumblers or do customers buy them and you charge $15? Either way, if they have a specific tumbler, as long as they're willing to provide me with testing blanks, I'll let them provide the tumblers that they can get, especially if it's like a business like that I use. Because a lot of the stuff that I do is business to business work. And so they have wholesale distributors that they can use. And so they may, get a deal on 5 cases of tumblers or something like that and just want them engraved. And so either way works for me, but you have to make sure that either you have the settings if you're using, especially if you're using a diode. If you're using a CO2, it's not as critical, but I would still say get some test tumblers to run. But yeah, run a few test ones, get the settings saved, set the file up, and then I just hit the button, rinse and repeat. But if I buy the tumblers, I still basically go by that 15 plus whatever my cost is on the tumblers and shipping and all that. I worked that in there with it. Come up with a nice round number, technically up. If I had to round up is the way I'm going. And I'll round it up to, let's say if I'm paying $5 a piece for the tumblers, then $20 to $25 each for the finished product is where I would land, depending on whether this is a onesie twosie or if it's a 50. You know what I mean? If you're just wanting one tumbler, a lot of times the price is going to go up extremely higher because I don't have that repetition to make up a little bit of money along the way. So I've got to make all my money on that one for setup and the hassle of making the file. Because a lot of what I do, I actually make the file also. So, and Ghost Rider's asked, and how's the back? So far, so good. I don't want to jinx myself, but right now it's It's doing better than it's done in a long time. So we're just gonna go with that being a good thing.
IG Creates asking, bottom on port 90 watt CO2. Do I still need to get protective eyewear when operating, or is the cover protective? So the covers are usually made from like a polycarbonate, and that doesn't cut well with the laser. It absorbs it more. And you're also looking at non-focused reflected beams. So in theory, it's fairly safe. But, this is one of those things where you're one set of eyes. All it takes is a quick flash, light leakage somewhere or whatnot. I would strongly still recommend you get in the habit of wearing them, and make sure you're protected, because, dumb things can happen. And also, you never know when they decide to cheap out and go with clear acrylic that we all know CO2 lasers like to cut. So, but in theory, it should be, generally, as they're sending these lasers out, it's usually a protective style of material that you shouldn't be required to. It's also good just not to get in the habit of just staring at it. Take a look every so often, but don't sit there and stare at it. That also lowers your risk.
Yeah. Dave's asking for the pickleball. Can you use marking spray like Sir Mark? Not that I'm aware of. I'm not going to say you can't. There may be a way, but not that I'm aware of. Marking spray, these balls, especially when they bend and when they flex and get hit and all that, it's not going to stay on there. The way that the Omni works is basically it changes the color of the material. So you're not really engraving it as much as you're marking it. And it's in the material, not just on the surface. So that's what makes a big difference. I'm running 4 passes. I'm doing a crosshatch, but I'm telling it to run 2 passes of crosshatch. And so I'm getting that real nice, deep mark, I guess you would say, but it engraves it in a sense, because it does penetrate below the material, the surface of the material, but it doesn't remove material from it. It's kind of weird the way the Omni works. Is it will discolor, and sometimes it'll even, like on acrylic, sometimes it'll even raise the acrylic up a little bit instead of lowering it, which is weird, because it's doing something on a molecular level that I'm not going to try to explain, but it's cool and it's permanent. And it works. Because like Ryan Ballard was saying that the name tags, things like they feel kind of raised, but what it is something happens to that acrylic and it kind of bubbles up just a little bit and then like rehardens, and it does feel like it's a raised surface on the engrave. But it's just the way the machine works, and it is weird, but it's cool.
Yeah. The other thing is the way Surmark works is you're kind of fusing it to the material, and so it does require a bit of heat. And most pickleballs are made out of like polyethylene, which is similar to HDPE. And when you apply heat to it, it gets mushy. It doesn't cut well. It just kind of, I don't know, gets spongy and mushy. So I don't feel like it would fuse the Surmark.
Yeah, that's true. You're never going to get the speed. Yeah, it basically turns to cheese when it gets hot.
Yeah. Yup. Travis, sorry, you clicked as well.
Steve Massey says, what is the largest order you've ever received? Recently, I think the 250, if you're talking about tumblers, the 250 tumblers for one order, like one invoice, I think that's the most me and Klein have took on so far. Before that, I think I did a couple of orders of like 100 and 200, but typically my batches are typically going to be around 50 or so. Because what I'm getting those orders where it doesn't justify ordering them from one of these places online that does them for cheap. because there's just the shipping is going to be so much and all that to have them done. So mine are going to be your like 25, typically 25 to 50 at a time is what my order size is. Rarely do I go much bigger than that, but we have on occasion. Because if you got somebody that needs 1,000, they're probably going to find an online vendor to purchase those from.
Mm-hmm.
But your small businesses, like local businesses here, especially if they need them like next week, that's where I'm going to get the order, because they're going to be like, hey, how fast can you get me some black tumblers and put my logo on them? And I'll be like, pull up Amazon or pull up whoever and be like, okay, I can have them here in 3 days. I can get them done in a day. I should have them by this weekend. And they're like, okay, how much is it going to cost me? And so that's how a lot of my orders come up. Just like the tumblers, 4 of those I did and had them. 4 of them I got called. I had them dropped off with Brandy, brought them home, engraved them that night, took them back the next day, and then they picked them up the next day and had a use for them. I think they said this weekend. But I did those 4. I went ahead and knocked those out and got them done like that night. But I do that because they're repeat customers and they keep coming back, and I want them to keep coming back. So that's kind of how you do that.
Yeah, there's definitely a sweet spot to, finding enough that it makes it worth your while to set things up. But like you say, if they're doing enough volume, they'll be able to find someone who's got higher capacity and can crank those out. But a lot of them don't want to do those smaller jobs of like a dozen or 2 dozen. And people are, they know that they still want the customized equipment, the mugs and such, but they're willing to pay X amount to get them, even if it is more than what they could get them if they ordered, 200. But yeah, like you mentioned in your video, business to business stuff, it's what I like to work after, because, I can set up, I can do a run of things, but I also don't like to get too repetitive with that, as far as like you say, an order of, you mentioned Klein doing an order of what, 100 or 200 tumblers?
250 was the
250?
big order, and it took him like all week working on them every
afternoon. that would get old fast,
Yeah.
That I don't know, but I mean, you hate to turn down work and money, but that repetitive stuff.
Well, and see, he that's what he said. He wanted the job because he was like, that's a lot of money. That one job, I mean, you figure $15 a piece. That one job would have paid for a laser. Like if he'd had to buy the laser to do the job, that one job would have paid for the laser.
Yeah.
So that's a good bit of money. Now it is very repetitious, but tumblers are one of those things that people like, and they'll buy them. Like I said, especially a lot of businesses will buy them around Christmas. I've got several. Like I got a local electric company that, like 2 Christmases in a row, I've done batches of tumblers with his company color and his company name and phone number on there, and he gives them out to like all of his regular customers as Christmas presents. Yeah. And of course, he's writing that off as marketing because he's giving it to people with his phone number and stuff on it. So by and paying me to put the numbers on there, is all of that is a deductible expense, i.e. marketing in his books, but at the end of the day. So that's another thing that makes business folks are willing to pay a little more sometimes, because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at getting that marketing from that job, plus being able to deduct that from, as an expense. So it does help.
Travis was putting some comments out there. They did a craft show, and I think he earlier said it started out slow, but they towards the end they sold out almost everything, a lot of dog tags and such. Mentioned that the advice about localizing some of the crafts worked well too. So yeah, definitely if you can kind of capture, whether it is your locality or if it's a special event around a certain theme, and you can produce some things like that, it's going to increase your chances. It's never a guarantee, but people can buy a Happy Father's Day card anywhere, but something that's personalized to their area or whatnot, that definitely ups your chances against all. And glad you had a good show, it sounds like. So always nice to hear about successes.
Trade Skiller is asking question: light burn with a thunderbolt. When I select user defined work 0, it puts the start point way to the left, like the green dot is 250 millimeters too far to the left. Only works with absolute coordinates. I technically only run absolute coordinates because it's just, unless it's some small jobs, I'll use current position. So that would be my recommendation, because the Thunderbolt up at Tim's that I run and I use and help them with, I run that thing in absolute all the time. Like I don't set work zeros. I run it from absolute. I'll set up a jig, set up a file, or just frame it. Use the frame to position the material and hit go. So you can do it other ways, but
yeah, I'm wondering if this is an artifact issue. Like it's seeing something, and because when you do, I mean, either way with absolute coordinates or user defined, it kind of puts that green dot generally, like if you have it origin in your upper left, it's going to be the upper left extent of the furthest art piece or whatever it sees, or vice versa. The real confusing ones is when you have it like job origin is center and there's something way off to the left and something way off to the right, and you got your origin not near any artwork. So what you might want to do is select the items that you want to actually burn and maybe copy them, open a new file, paste it in there, and see if that fixes it. Because I've definitely seen it where, you were on the circle or the square tool, you clicked because you thought you were on the selection tool. You don't see that you drew a square
like this.
But yeah, there you can have like a tiny object hanging out there, and so.
And then the way that I usually, if I see this and I'm running current position right now, and that dot's way the heck over here, so that tells me that dot's going to be the midpoint. A couple of ways you can go about finding it. The easiest is just to select this whole area over here. Wait, hang on, that didn't work. I had the wrong tool selected.
Yeah.
The easiest way is just to select this whole area left of that dot and see what shows up. And if you look right there, I drew a little tiny dot right there that you can't even hardly see. And that's what's causing the problem, is because like Steve said, light burn is putting that dot in between these two. Now, one easier way is to set it to do left, and then basically that whatever you're looking for is right there somewhere. And if you come from right to left, if you touch it, it's going to select it. So maybe that's it, but I always run absolute coordinates. It just, I say always. There are times if I've got like a bowl or a tub or a plate or something that I got to stay inside a certain area to keep from hitting it, then I will use absolute. But for the most part, or use current position. But for the most part, I run absolute nowadays. Yeah. But yeah, I think that is a possibility. I didn't think about that. Like you're talking about, like a little relic laying over there somewhere.
Well, just like you thought you were on your selection tool and you drew a big square. There's so often that I've thought I had the selection tool, but I had something and I click, which adds just a tiny little object there, and all of a sudden you're like, usually I'll get the like, oh, you've got something outside the bounds. Are you sure you want to continue? And you're like, what? So yeah, that's one of the first things I look at with that. So. All right. Travis is asking about I'll have my Jimitsu 4040. Oh, must be Reno. Set up next week. Will it do light aluminum out of the box? If I'm reading that right, as you got the Reno, that's more the lighter weight one. It will, but you're going to need to probably slow things down quite a bit. I actually did pocket into some aluminum with the Genmitsu Cubico. So, an even lighter weight machine can do it. But that was using I think it was a 1.5 millimeter O flute bit and 5 millimeters a minute. I mean, it was slow. or not 5 inches per minute. So about, I'm not doing the math.
Letting that math get on you.
So yeah, it can, but it's going to be a little more limiting than something with their, their trim router setup and a little heavier gantry and such.
Yeah, John, I just saw where you said you sent me 2 emails. I have not got them, but it looks like you left out it's clacked at theclackshack.com. So I did get the one from Scott. So Scott, I got you covered. But John, you may want to check the email address and send it to that, because I think you left off the because I haven't gotten it yet. I did get Scott's though. Sorry. Just trying to get this taken care of, because if I don't get that email, it'll be
right. I want to make sure people get connected on that.
Yeah, but I got Scott's taken care of there, and we'll be going. As soon as the other one comes in, I'll have those. I just want to make sure I got those before the live's over with, because I may not be able to get in touch with nobody. Yeah, Ken. Ken said, "I wonder how many of those errors would be eliminated if Lightburn had an option. Don't create an object smaller than X." Yeah, I mean that would do it.
Yeah, but it's nice that it will. I've had some like when I'm designing in SketchUp, there's a limit to the how small of a curve it will draw, and it is a little frustrating sometimes when I'm working on smaller parts and I want to, put a round over or put a small hole in a spot, and it's like, nope, it's too small. I can't make it that size. So it's mostly because it uses splines instead of true curves, but
Brad saying, seems that his A40 Max will not fire when framing unless I turn off the machine and turn it back on. Any suggestions? Check for firmware would be my first recommendation. Make sure that you aren't missing a firmware update. Let me see if it's in there. Hang on a second. Is it A40 Max? Is that what it is? Okay. Da, 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 da. No, it ain't on the new software. I thought the A40, I thought all the A series, the new A series were on the new software.
I don't know. And I don't know that software does have a firmware option.
That's what I was checking.
Because I was looking on was it the Craft or something else, I thought, but
that's what I was trying to check to see. I don't remember if it did either. I was wondering about that, if it's the new software, but it isn't going to matter if it's if it doesn't work with the A70 or the A40. But that definitely sounds like there's a setting somewhere. Oh, it's weird that you're having to restart it before it'll work. You might want to email them and see what they say. Surely, if it's happening, surely that's a known issue. Yeah, I'm not seeing a place. I thought there was, but I'm not seeing a place to update the firmware in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I've noticed that before, and I'm trying to think what it would reset when it's, it might be just like you say, it could be something in the controller that's not letting go after a job or something, but
because it's just powering it up, low power. Now, I will say this, make sure I have run into some machines that if you get too low with the power output, it won't fire. So you may want to bump it up just a little bit, but be careful and don't go too high, because I have actually turned them up, and some of these machines will mark like anodized material when they're framing because it doesn't take a whole lot. but maybe it's, for some reason I don't know why that would change when you restarted the machine, but who knows?
Yeah, that's sometimes those are a little odd.
Yeah, Dave, apparently you missed my video that I did on the S1 and the tumblers this week because I used that accessory kit for the RA2 Pro. It does have this cool little alignment laser that I really like that helps you line up the tumbler and make sure you've got the center of the tumbler lined up with, like if you got text or whatever. It's pretty handy. But yeah, I just put that video out a few days ago. So yeah, go check that one out. You actually get to see it in action.
Santa's laser engraving. Says they're 5 months in with a Monport 60 watt. I understand CNC machines as I took engineering. The one question is about heat, humidity on the tube. I live in New Bern, North Carolina, 45 minutes from Atlantic Beach. I know the temperature range that is optimal for the tube, but if you are running a job as the heat increases, what have you both done? Pause the job and run it at 30 minutes less. Are you running a chiller, I guess? Because you're concerned about the water temperature, which is then cooling the tube, which generally they like to be 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, so about 16 to 20 degrees centigrade, give or take. But you can get into some situations where I find it's more of a concern when there's high humidity or it's really cold, because then you can get some condensation going on because of the temperature change. So if your machine is cold and then warms up, that can cause some condensation to go on. But as long as you are running something to keep that water temperature fairly cool, the tube should be okay. But my concern has always been the outside temperature then. So if your temperatures are getting near dew points and things like that, then it's time to maybe think about taking a pause. And if at all possible, do anything you can to help control the environment that your laser is sitting in. I know a lot of us run them in, sheds and garages and such, where it's hard to do that. But it is a concern. I hear it can get pretty humid in the summer. And okay, you are running a CW5200. So yeah, I've done that. I've run it pretty well. But my shop's also fairly well insulated. And so as long as I maintain the temperature in here and the humidity, it's okay. So I worry about it at 2 times. Late July, early to, somewhere around July and August here is when it's the most kind of heat and humidity. Mid-August, it starts to dry off here in Minnesota, the Midwest. Typically, we'll see how weather patterns change, but that's when I can worry about it. Or if it got too cold in the shop and the laser warmed up in the winter. But I've been able to control the heat pretty well this winter, and so that hasn't been a concern of mine.
Yeah. Mindy's saying, would the RA2 work without a laser? Yes, but you would have to connect it using assuming you had the right cable, and I can't swear to what cables they're shipping them with right now. I've got so many cables, I don't know which ones came with what. But assuming you had the correct cables, yes, it would. You'd have to unplug a stepper to connect it. But as always, it would be this. The simplest would be to use whatever is made for the machine. But me and Steve are notorious for, we like the Atom Stack chucks, and I like the RA2 Pro. I just don't like the RA2 Pro for some of my other machines necessarily more than what I do the Atom Stack chuck. Do you know if it ships with? I know it comes with at least a crossover cable for a standard machine, if I'm not mistaken.
The RA2?
Yeah.
I don't know that it does. It comes with a cable, usually for a D1. The problem is the D1 uses a different style plug than your typical. But yeah, as long as you can adapt it correctly, you technically could work with it. But yeah, I would recommend, unless you have an X-Tool product, I would probably recommend getting something like the Atom Stack.
Yeah, the Atom Stack is
going to be more compatible.
Yeah. See, I've got, my problem is I don't know which machine these came with. Because see, these are the cables, and I'm thinking that these came with this rotary, but I'm not 100% sure. But see, that's that 4-pin that the Algo and the D1 everybody uses, and O'Toole I think uses it as well. But you've got to have crossover cable. Cabling would be the only problem. But see, and I don't know where I got it from. Like, see, here's an adapter that goes to where this adapter goes from a stepper connector over to that 4-pin. But I don't know where all this came from. So that's why I don't want to lead nobody wrong. Yeah. Because I've got all these cables, but I can't say for sure which one came in what box. Because I'm bad to hoard cables. Rick said that crossover cables come with it. So like if you're running an Atom Stack or something like that, it won't run backwards. Because I've run into that before. So he said it does come with
yeah, now thinking back to my video. I think I did test it on a generic Atom Stack. I think it was called a Laser Storm or something like that back at the time. So yeah, you're right. It does come with the crossover cable.
Yeah, I could try to connect it to my MK2, but and I can make it work. I've got cables in here. I can make it work. My concern is if I tell somebody to buy RA2 and it doesn't come with the cable, now you've got a machine that you can't use without that cable. So that would be my only concern. And I have bukus of cables, but I don't know where exactly these cables came from. Because sometimes I'm, especially my other toolbox, it is slapped full of cables. So I don't want to steer anybody wrong. But now you might could check with X-Tool and see. They may even have a how to connect it tutorial for those machines.
But yeah, the Atom Stack one is a bit taller, and so it's going to give you some inherent height advantages for working on bigger tumblers and such. And you don't have to buy the accessory kit to make it tilt and things like that. So
yeah, the Atom Stack one is my favorite for non X-Tool equipment. The RA2 is okay, but that's the king right there. This is my old school Atom Stack one. This one came with the X40. But yeah, this is by far, I like this one better than I do any of them. Even that big heavy thing right there, I like this one better. But yeah, 160 millimeters per rotation, so I'll never forget.
Now, how about this? Invert that question. So your life is your fault's asking what's the best rotor you know of for tumblers, but they're using the F1 Ultra and the P2 with the RA2 and don't like it. Would you use something else with X-Tool gear?
No. I'm going to be honest with you. Given the choice of those two machines right there doing tumblers, I'm going with the Ultra because I cannot stand the P2 doing tumblers. They should have changed. Like the problem I have with the P2 doing tumblers is you have to chase that darn little focusing dot with your tumbler. So you can't really make a jig and set it in the workspace because depending on how tall your tumbler is, you have to have it so that little red dot is hitting the highest point of your tumbler, which is a pain. So if you're doing 50 of them, you got to be careful not to bump that thing and get it twisted because you can't really secure it because then tomorrow when you do a different size tumbler, you got to move it. So out of the two machines, I would use the Ultra and I would use a jig for the Ultra, which I do have.
Well, the Ultra they even have alignment marks on the bed for the RA2.
Yeah.
So you can get it pretty close with that. And also, if you're using XCS, that's going to be tricky to get it to work with a non-X-tool rotary.
See, I use my F1 Ultra to my F1 adapter, and I put this little guy in there, and then this sits in that little slot, and you just slide that bad boy to wherever you need it because it's tight fit. And when you slide that in there, get it to where you need it, nothing moves. And see, that goes into the base plate adapter. I got the F1 Ultra. This works with my F1 or my F1 Ultra. I just have to use the adapter for the Ultra to make it work. And then lock that into there. And I don't have to worry about it moving. And it's in the perfect spot every time. And I can sit there and turn them out. The only disadvantage that I would say the Ultra has is you can't close the lid all the way. So you're going to get a little bit of vapor out of it. More so than with the S1, but it does a good job. I've got a couple of videos of me using. Matter of fact, I was using this with the Ultra, and it works. It's just like I said, the exhaust situation is not as good as the S1. That's why I like my S1 better. So, but yeah, but that's my fix for it. And I know they got those little marks and all that, but they didn't. If they'd have drilled a couple of holes in this thing so you could like put screws into that base on the Ultra, then that would have been really nice.
Now they would have slots though, so you could slide it back and forth.
Yeah, but if they'd have done that, that would be cool. Oh. Yeah, that's somebody's asking, is it on Etsy? Yeah, that's the F1 Ultra or F1 jig kit has that one. I don't remember. Did I put the Ultra adapter on there? Let me check and make sure. I don't remember if I did or not. Oh yeah. Yeah, I put that on there. So there it is right there. It's for the F1, but I have an adapter that I used to adapt it over to the F1 Ultra. I'll have to look at that and see where that's at. But yeah, that was actually a separate creation.
So Jared's asking if either of us are getting the Excel laser. Says it's a cool idea with the dual diode fiber galvo style. Haven't heard from them at all. Been following them for a while. And then of course Michael from Laser 911 did go over there and did a live stream and is going to have kind of an early review. He said out in a couple of weeks. They're going to have a Kickstarter going pretty soon, but I believe I think they said that the units weren't going to ship for like 6 months after the Kickstarter ended. So this is definitely a brand new company, and that's it's a bit of a wait time for that. So I guess we'll have to see. Similar to what Rolly Automation is doing with their Galvomatic. They have a dual fiber and diode laser that has the Galvo style head, moves around. The difference is that Rolly's actually showed theirs cutting and a cell laser hasn't. They've just showed it doing a lot of engraving, which it does really well. It was nice to see that, but we haven't seen it cut yet. So I think they're still working on their development on that one. So I think it's going to be a little bit before you see too much on that, other than the stuff from Michael over at Laser Engraving 911.
I just realized I did adapt that thing to work with the Ultra, and apparently I never uploaded it. So I need to get on that. But there it is right there. So the way that I've got it designed is it uses the screw hole, so you can screw it this plate in place and then slide the Ultra, the RA2 in there. So yeah, apparently somebody forgot to upload that. I'll have to work on that tomorrow. Because I meant to put that one in with the one for the F1.
We got Cody apparently out in Carlsbad, California.
What's he doing out there?
I don't know.
Well,
hopefully he's having fun.
right.
But he says it's a family function, so it may or may not be fun. I don't know. But I hope you have a good trip there, family and all, Cody.
Yeah.
I dropped my Jimitsu Cubico video this week, and I did use a variety of bits in it. Of course, I had to use the Downtown Jenny for one of them, but also used the 1/8" down cut from IDC and some Speed Tool ones. So spreading the love around. But Cody's got a nice line of CNC bits. If you're not familiar with that, definitely check it out over at jennybits.com, or look at pretty much any of our CNC videos. We use them a lot. So
had to go outside. I just did this one right here with some Cadence manufacturing bits today using the 3020. I should have used an upcut, hindsight, but because it was a little deep for a compression bit, but it worked. I had to clean it afterwards because it got a little bit of that tape on the bottom of the compression part of the bit, picked up some of the tape, and it got a little sticky. So I had to clean that. But yeah, I used the Genie to do my clearance on this, and then I went back with the Little B and did that. But this is a thick 3D. This ain't no like 1/4 inch deep. This thing is deep. And I did this with the Genmitsu 3020. That is sitting right there, which needs dust collection, by the way. But yeah, I don't know what kind of fish this is. It was in Vectric. So I don't know if this is supposed to be here. I don't know what that is. I'm guessing it's part of the fish, but yeah, did a good job. Bloop, 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 bloop,
bloop. Mark, I don't think Sam makes a jig for the rotary. He makes his own kind of. It's like a shim, angled shim that holds like drinkware and round items. The problem is they don't turn, so you're gonna have limited stuff. But I don't think he does. But I know if you have a 3D printer, of course, there are some files out there. I actually found one for the F1, similar to what Clack had there. It would drop in and then could slide back and forth. So then, of course, you could adapt that for the F1 Ultra with something else. But yeah, it's if you only have the F1 and you don't have a larger laser or a 3D printer, kind of limits you on being able to create those. So you do have to look at others. So
unless you're really handy with a jigsaw. Or scroll saw. I had to break out my scroll saw today. How about that? I wasn't even sure it was still going to work.
I gave mine to my sister. I don't have one of those anymore.
I have it. It just lives over here underneath my table saw and everything.
Well, it's taking up too much space on my bench, and I would set things on it because it was a horizontal surface, and I'm like, I just need to get rid of this thing, and then I've got my counter, a part of my bench back. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's otherwise it's a good tool to have. When I first had my laser and I was still trying to dial in my settings, or I'd get like bad bad spot in plywood and I wanted to salvage the part, I just take it over to the scroll saw and just nicely cut it out. Following the lines that the laser did leave. Laser will make some really nice scroll saw patterns for you.
Yeah. All right, John, I got 2 different emails from 2 different email addresses, but both of them told me to send it to the same address. So I'm guessing that's you. At first I was like, somebody's trying to get John, but they're not. But yeah, I used to see when I first started this shop, that was one of the things that I was doing. I was using a scroll saw to cut out real thin pieces of wood and stuff.
Yeah.
But then, lasers came along and it's like, okay, I can still use the laser to draw, an outline and then use the scroll saw or the jigsaw or the bandsaw to cut it out. But then as lasers started getting more and more powerful, I just stuck the scroll saw over there under the box because I'm like, this A70 can cut, I can cut 3/4 inch oak with this A70 and have decent results. Now you could probably go deeper, thicker than that, but 3/4 is pushing it with this, even with the 70 watt. But so I just don't use the scroll saw that much. And until today, when that, for some reason, and it was in the preview, I just didn't notice it. It left that one little piece of wood right there behind that fin because the cutout bit, the Jenny bit, wasn't big enough to get in there, and it left it. And it was in the preview, so it showed it to me, but I didn't even pay it no attention until I got it off of the CNC, and I'm like, what in the world? So I went back, looked at the preview, and it showed it. And so I was like, you know what? Time to break the scroll saw out. So I got the scroll saw out, and I just had to cut. It was a real thin piece of wood down in here, in this little hole here that connected the back of this fin. Because and the reason is it couldn't get that bit down in there, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why it didn't use the tapered ball nose and go ahead and cut it out, but I guess because I didn't tell it to. But yeah, but it worked out. Got me a good little fish. I got to make me a plaque now to put it on, and then I'm going to try to make me like a little hook and make me like a little fishing scene. And I'm gonna put, because see, this side's flat, so I can glue him. And I didn't put no finish or nothing on this side, so I can glue him to a board and make like a little aquarium, and I can put a piece of clear acrylic over top of it or something, make me an aquarium out of it.
Yeah. It's kind of funny at the Minnesota Woodworking Expo year before last when I was set up there. They put me right next to the scroll sawing group. I'm not sure how much they appreciated that, because they're out there, doing their thing with their scroll saws. And I'm like, it's very, and there's some very talented people with those. But yeah, you can do a lot with lasers that you can do with scroll saws, but then you got that sintered edge, where they have a nice clean edge. So
yep,
definitely cool stuff. They actually reached not the Woodworkers Guild actually reached out to me about the show this year. So I got to see if I'm going to go and set up. I might have to try to. It might depend on if I can find help.
Yeah.
But yeah, with having the AP2 filter and some stuff, I think it might be feasible up there.
Yep. Brandon, I would have, but I was basically just testing the machine to see how well it would do on that 3D design. It did take a little while, but now part of it was because last night, about halfway through the 3D finish, a buddy of mine apparently was trying to attempt to cut a tree behind his house and didn't know what he was doing. And so he was sitting there precariously with a tree about to go through the roof of his house. And so I had to go show him how to cut it because, in my previous life, that's what I did for a living. And so I went over there and put a rope in the tree and we rigged it up, and I wound up cutting the tree out from over his house, and his house is still in one piece. So he was really happy about that. And I actually have a video of me at night, 9 o'clock. I think this was 9 o'clock at night, out there cutting trees out from over that big old tree right there. The only thing keeping that tree from falling was, I guess, the good Lord, because he had cut it to the point to where it pinched his chainsaw sitting back on it. Yeah. I see. Anyway, I think it should be about ready to go. Because I had them tug on it to make sure we had enough leverage to get that thing to go. Because I'm like, the last thing I want to do is come over and try to help and be responsible for this tree going through his living room. Because it was a lot bigger tree than what we expected. And as you can see, we had several grown men on that rope down there to get it to pull it. Let's see. Get it. It should be fixing to come down here in just a second. There it goes. There it goes. They get out, except for the one guy.
Gosh.
We won't call his name, but let's just say he's a nut. Because I told him, I was like, as long as you're past this point, you should be good. But go that way. And he just stood there and was like that as it fell. It's like good thing I was correct.
Wow.
So anyway, I did learn too, Steve, and I'll pass this on to you. If you pause a job, and I'm hoping they fix this. If you pause a job in G-Sender, the counter that keeps up with how long the job takes, it keeps going. So like next day when you unpause it and it finishes the job, like today, my little fish, it said it took 16 and a half hours. It didn't, but because I paused it last night and it started it back at like 11 o'clock this morning, it said it was 16 and a half hours. So
interesting.
Don't let that one get you. Because I almost recorded it and I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't take 16 hours.
Yeah. Mindy's asking, is it typical for a new laser out of the box to have an access out of calibration by 25 millimeters? Not typical, but not impossible. Depends on the type of laser and, who was it a Friday?
I think a Friday or a Monday laser.
Yeah, but no, it does happen. And so, depending on whether it is device config or mechanical, a couple things to check on that to make sure, why it's out of calibration. It's another good reason to, when you first get a machine, if you're using Lightburn, export that machine, export the settings, create a backup of it. Because if you do make some changes, you can always revert it, because sometimes we make things worse trying to make them better. But it's something that David and I try to do. That way, if someone has an issue with their machine, we can say, hey, here is a working profile. Load this up and try that, which can sometimes eliminate the software side of things. But yeah, it's not unheard of. There is a calibration tool within Lightburn that makes it fairly easy to kind of get it back into calibration if it is not moving enough steps per inch or foot or however much you're testing. So,
well, I'm kind of curious when it says it's out of calibration by 25 millimeters. That should be relative to the size of the object. How big was the object that was out by 25 millimeters? Because typically it's not. I mean, it's going to be a variable,
right?
It may only be
it'll get
1 millimeter step more.
It'll be more out of calibration the bigger the object.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that sucks. You got it calibrated. So ran 4 cut tests to get it calibrated. Didn't there?
Yeah, and I mean, there's. I had someone comment on or send me a message or comment on one of my videos asking about like the autofocus being way off for their laser. And sometimes when you have a laser and there's one thing that's way off, there's probably something bigger wrong. I had that with one of the Sculpt Fun machines where I their focus wasn't working, and then so I started doing ramp tests, and I found out that I had to move my focus by a good quarter to a third inch of what they had stated from their little focusing tool or whatever. And then when I dug into it, I noticed that the focal lens looked way deeper than what they were sending me in photos. So obviously, or it was actually closer to the edge of the module. So anyway, I got in touch with them and they said, oh yeah, that's not right. And then they replaced things. So you can often find workarounds for it, but if there's like one thing that seems way out of spec compared to everything else on it, it's probably a good time to reach out to the manufacturer and say, hey, this isn't quite right.
Yeah, she said it was like basically like 25% out. So
yeah, it would be a little odd to be off that much from the others. So
yep. Well, I said she got it straightened out, so that's good.
Yeah.
So what you got planned? It's an hour and 20 minutes in. So what you got planned for the week? We'll go ahead and go over that because I know things are they slowing down at your place? Because it's kind of I'm trying to get caught up over here. So
well, I don't know if they're slowing down or speeding up. I've had other things. I've been trying to get back into my rhythm, and so like this week we had commencement at the college I work at, and I had to work that, and then that just, standing on concrete in this arena for 5-6 hours, walking around helping people and such, that kind of eliminated that day for me and such, and so I got a little behind on some stuff there, but I do have a 5-day weekend coming up because I took Friday off, and then we have Memorial Day, and then I took the Tuesday off as well. So I'm hoping to kind of be able to buckle down on that. But also part of that is I've done a few videos on some of my shop organization. I've been doing more of that. I actually there's a set of shelves that's been like the catch-all for all my like random solvents and cleaners and lubricants and everything like that. No, this is like the normal garage stuff, right? The things you'd expect to see in a garage other than lasers and CNCs and oodles of glue.
Well, I figured you was going to get something like that to put all your glues in if it would hold it.
No. I need them to be upright. So anyway, I went through and I cleaned that bench off. I'm cleaning some other stuff out. I've been working with some people, getting some machines out to some friends and other people to be able to play around with. So I've been trying to, set up a test job and then do some shop organization and some shuffle, because I would like to actually condense the big wood pile down. And I did process some of that into some blanks and such today. Because I'd like to get, I've got the upgrade kit for the Fox Alien to make it wider. I need a space to put that, and I'm trying to just shuffle things around. So I'm hoping between doing some projects, working on some stuff, I'll be able to get at that this weekend. But yeah, I've got the P1 from Atom Stack. We'll be testing that and putting some stuff out on that. Like I say, I'm trying to look at it from the lens of, would this be a good, starter laser, but also how would it perform for on-site engraving? Because it's a lot cheaper than your typical Galvo style laser that works well, but this is slower, but it's a fraction of the price. So I'm going to see, how realistic it would be to do some of your typical things like, the dog tags and, maybe a coaster, things like that. So we'll be looking at that. Might be doing another little bit with the Cubico yet. And I have also a few project video things in mind, some that are fun, some that might be useful. So I'm going to see how much of that I can kind of knock through this week. I'm hoping I can stay on task and get that all done. But yeah. Hopefully, so yeah, the nice thing is the forecast, it's really cold up here right now. It almost snowed. We were in the 30s. We were in the 30s this morning. We didn't get the precipitation here. They need it up in northern Minnesota, where we got some forest fires going on up there. But we're supposed to get some rain the next couple of days. But my Thursday through Tuesday are looking fairly nice. Still on the cool side. Temps in the 60s, but yeah, it should keep me out here.
Check out those plants. Look at that tomato plant right there.
I haven't had to mow my lawn yet.
We already harvesting squash and tomatoes and peppers and stuff down here, man.
Yeah, well,
Look at
The
that.
the hostas and the other plants are coming up, but yeah, it's
Look at them tomatoes.
yeah. Yeah, we got warm. The crazy thing is a week ago we had record temperatures. It was up in the 90s but it was really dry. We didn't get the humidity with it. But now we kind of inverse that and almost had record lows here. Probably did. I don't know. I didn't check, but so yeah, lots of stuff going on. Hopefully, and more on some little machines and some other stuff.
Sharon's asking, what's a good wood stain with wood colored alcohol inks? I use colored stain, but as far as like alcohol stain or whatever, that talking to Greek to me. I don't use that stuff. I use Minwax. They got a whole bunch of different colored stains that you can get, but that's all I use.
Yeah, I've used some water-based dyes for wood, but I haven't used alcohol inks. But as far as like plywood type stuff, anything that I try to go with more cabinet grade veneers at least. You know, something that's I tend to be either maple or birch for my choice of plywoods and staining, but I guess I haven't used that a whole lot.
Yeah, I would say probably maple would look the best because maple usually has good it's like good lines and everything in it. And it's a harder material, so if you're staining it, obviously it's something that you kind of want it to be a finished product. So, but yeah, I would probably go with the maple. And Lowe's and Home Depot actually have some decent like 1/4 inch maple, but now it's a little tough. That's what I used the other day to make that baby announcement thing that I made. It's a little tough, but it works. Matter of fact, now it is heavier than regular plywood also. But this is the rest of that maple that I've got. See, it's got that Nash grain on it there. See if you can see it. It's kind of got pink color to it. But yeah, I buy this in like a 2x4 sheet. It's more or less a MDF core type plywood. But you can see the edge right there. It's not ply as much as it's a MDF with like a veneer over it.
So I found some stuff at Menards that I thought was going to be better, but whatever MDF core they used is some tough stuff. And so it didn't work out too well. I mean, the CO2s will get through it, but it's kind of it's a tough cut. So yeah, I do like the Pure Bond stuff from Home Depot. I wish they sold bigger sheets of it here locally. I have to buy it in those craft packs. But that stuff cuts really nice. And then they got their choice of like maple, walnut, cherry, birch veneers on it. I wish I could get them in larger sheets here. I could try asking the people at the store, but it's hit or miss if they even know what I'm talking about. But I'll have to hit up a couple of the lumber places here and see if they found anything different.
Kevin, no, that right there came from either Home Depot or Lowe's. I can't say for sure which one, but it's got the barcode sticker on the back of it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Lowe's, but it could have been some that I picked up at Home Depot early on. Because I swapped from Home Depot to Lowe's about 1.5 years ago, I guess, because I started having some problems with the wood from Home Depot. Like bringing it into the shop and putting it in my kiln and drying it out. And when I would dry it out, it would split and just do all kind of weird stuff. And so I went to using Lowe's and hadn't had that problem. As I'm guessing Home Depot was letting their wood get wet somehow. I don't know if it was in shipping or what. But.
Yeah, my problem is our closest Lowe's is like 45 minutes away. So
yeah.
So I don't go there too often. It's just out of the way.
Well, there's Dave Gross says so far True Flat has been really good for him, just expensive, which we agree. It is expensive, but it is very useful, and it's just not, it doesn't have any issues.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do a lot of prototyping with it, but it's really nice for finished product stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'd love to see them come out with a few more wood veneer styles. You know, they've got what, maple, oak, and walnut. Be nice to see maybe a couple others, but get some more colors going for that natural stuff.
Yeah, Greg, he was in the shop up until a little while ago, and he come over here wanting out. But he's been hanging out in the shop all day since it's got close to 90 outside. He's decided that he likes hanging out in the shop.
Jared's asking if I'm still high on Eufy E1. He's they're ordering two. Really think UV has a ton of potential. Yeah, I'm trying to be conservative right now. I have a few more projects I want to do with it. Speaking of True Flat, I may mix the Eufy with some of the True Flat material in a project. But we don't even know when we'll be able to get extra ink, and so I'm trying to be conservative with how much I use it. So because I don't want to, like, you know, I've actually had some of my businesses say, "Oh, that'd be awesome. Can you make me some more coasters like this?" And I'm like, "Yes, eventually," because it doesn't use a lot for a lot of smaller projects, but when you start doing, you know, the 3-dimensional cool stuff, that really starts sucking it down. So, and then you want to use it. You either need to use it frequently, or you need to kind of batch your stuff out, because after about 24 hours, it puts itself into a deep clean cycle, which is great because it's going to protect itself, but it uses up some ink and some of that cleaning cartridge every time it does that deep clean cycle. And so, I don't want to, like, print one thing, let it do a deep clean cycle, and then come back a couple days later, print one thing, have it do a deep clean cycle. So that's just where I'm trying to, like, balance it out. But yeah, I've been very happy with it. They're also working on some of the software to tweak things. There was some banding on some of the rotary type things and such. So they're still improving it as we get through the Kickstarter and such. So I'm kind of excited to see the other things they do.
Ken's saying he tried True Flat for the first time today and it didn't work at all. Got a lot of delamination at the edges. Kind of, I mean, I would be curious to know what your settings were, because I've cut the stuff with every machine in the shop just about it, and I haven't had any issues. So,
now they're in the process of they're discontinuing their original white. I know they've been kind of like fire sailing it or whatever, and then they have their primer white, and then their gloss white, or something. So I don't know, maybe there's I guess it could depend on which version you're using. But yeah, I've only had an issue with chipping and such from dropping it. Not so much from cutting it, but I haven't worked a lot with the white per se. So
I've used a good bit of it. So Robbie, you can use, I think they changed it to 3 now. But yeah, you can use, like you're using 2 computers, you can put your license in both of those machines. Now, once you exceed the number of seats that they let you have, you'll have to go back and deactivate one in order to activate it on another machine.
You only get so many deactivations as well.
Yeah.
I forget what that number is, but that's to kind of keep it from people sharing and just, okay, I'm going to deactivate while you use it for a while, such. So, but yeah, you 3 by default at this point. It used to be 2, now it's 3. So it's definitely possible to have it like on your laptop and then have it on your laser controller computer as well. So
Mira 900 watt, speed 30, power 70. Is that millimeters a second? If so, that's awful slow for a 70 watt, for a 100 watt machine. Because my P2 cuts that stuff at 30. That may be why you're getting delamination. You may be getting it too hot. because a Mira 9, yeah, you should be able to cruise through that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that just seems kind of like this seems kind of slow for a 100-watt machine. So you might want to check and make sure. I'm assuming you did some speed tests or whatever, because it's that 30 millimeters a second. Like the P2, the OnTech, the Hurricane, all of them can, that 3 millimeter stuff. Most all of them can get through it close to that speed, and that's twice the power there.
Not sure if I have any white out here. I have some in the basement.
I've got it. Matter of fact, I could power my machine up and see what I've got listed for true flat white.
But Ken mentioned earlier he's got a good hardwood dealer he gets a lot of stuff from, and you might just want to ask them what they have for pre-finished plywood as well. You might be able to get a pretty decent deal on some stuff that's similar to it that might work better for you. I don't know that they'll give you like the white and some of the other colors they have, but always nice to be able to get it locally and work with them, because if you do get a bad batch of it, they usually will make it right for you.
What's up, Jack? How are you, sir? Let me get my machine connected here.
Yeah, Tim, they said they were kind of closing it out. I think they sent me another bundle of it because I was mentioning the project I was going to do with playing around with the UV printer and such. So I know they're trying to get rid of it, and they might just be running out of it and just dumping it locally as well. So, but their 2.0 does pretty good too. Yeah, and Okuch Hardwoods is great. I like buying their. I'll order a few pieces of that I need, and then I usually try to grab some of their sample packs, which always has just random selections, and I think you can specify if you want like the thinner type or the thicker. So they're definitely a nice company to deal with out of Wisconsin, with a lot of selection of both plywoods and hardwoods. So. And all their stuff, I've had some stuff sitting out here for a year that I got from them, and it's still relatively flat, and it's not cupped or anything like some of the stuff you get at the big box stores. You get some better wheels on that chair, man.
Oh, it rolls good. It rolls good. What you talking about?
Well, they sound like they're gritty.
Oh, it's because I got all the sand in the floor. I live down here on a sand dune, right? So I ain't got no choice on that. Share screen here. There we go. So yeah, apparently 15 is what I've been running mine. I could probably go a little faster, but we'll go in here. This is the P2. I'm just gonna go in here in some random spot, so I don't waste any more of it than I can help. But we'll set this to do cut, and I'm running a true flat right there. And this is gonna be 15 millimeters per second. So we'll run that and look at it. Oh, wait a minute. Need to auto measure. There we go. All right. Now we can process. So, but yeah, I got my P2 back up here using it again. I gave up on the Mega. That thing was really, I mean, it had potential, but until they fix some things, no thanks. should have made my square a little or rectangle a little bigger because it fell through the honeycomb. But yeah, got a little yellowing on it. I don't know why my machine's over there beeping. But yeah, I got a little bit of yellowing, so I'm gonna hit it with a little alcohol. But yeah, I haven't had a problem with it. Somebody's out there cutting up in front of the house on a vehicle. My dog's not real happy about it.
Found some scrap linen. I'm going to try that. Similar to white.
I mean, it does a really good job. I don't know. I would look into maybe the power settings. I'm trying to see if I can actually pull the veneer off the edges of it, but yeah, it's not coming off that easy. Unless you maybe when you were clean, I don't know. I tried peeling that off and I can't get it to come loose. So, but yeah, it's worked out pretty well for me. Like I said, I'm not saying they don't have bad batches every now and then, but we'll see. So let me turn the machine off. I really wish X2 had put that e-stop on top instead of the side because where I've got it sitting, I have to reach down in a crack to the e-stop.
Wow. You shouldn't have put it there.
Oh, Ken said maybe because I cleaned it with vinegar. That very well could be. Vinegar is like one of the most, what is it, acidic? Is it? I turned it off. That may be it, Ken. I only use rubbing alcohol or Windex. So I don't like using Windex because Windex is like 90% water. What in the world is beeping? Oh, that's you over there beeping. That ain't me. That's you beeping. I'm over here turning my machine. I'm like, what in the world?
Oh, you couldn't hear my fan, but you hear the beeps, huh?
Yeah, the fan's not coming through, but the beep is. That's that X tool beep. You got the X tool over there, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's a P2.
That's why I thought it was mine. I was like, I powered it off. Why is it still beeping? Yeah, vinegar is diluted acetic acid. Yeah, it's very acidic. So whatever adhesive that they used to put that veneer on there, there is a chance that vinegar absorbed into the material and caused that adhesive to turn loose. Windex, the streak-free Windex works pretty decent, but rubbing alcohol from Dollar General, you can get it stuff really, really cheap. And if you put it in a Mr. Spray bottle, it lasts forever. That's what all I use. And the reason is alcohol evaporates really, really fast. Because like this is my little dispenser right here that I use. Hang on. And this is my inventory, just in case. So what I do is I just go to Dollar General. I get the cheapest rubbing alcohol I can get, and that's what I use to clean most of the stuff in the shop with. That dang beeping. It sounds like it's coming from my machine over here, too. Oh. Alan says he buys 99% IPA, about a gallon. I've got some that's for cleaning. This is for cleaning the machines. This doesn't have any water in it at all. The other stuff is for general cleaning.
Have I mentioned how I'd love the P2S for that extra air?
Oh, I would love it too. Yeah. I think we both discussed the P2S would be an upgrade.
So this is true flat linen. I had a scrap of it. Come on, stop focusing on me. There we go. 22 millimeters a second, and I lowered the focus by a millimeter. So
yeah. Ken said he's 77 days from retirement. He's closer than I am. I'll be there before long, though. But yeah, I would check with your speed and power settings there, Ken. Do a speed test and see. And then, like I said, definitely the vinegar. Now that you've mentioned that definitely could be what caused the coating to come off. So, but yeah. Jim Castro said it would be nice if there was an upgrade option for the air assist on the P2.
Definitely.
I mean, you can do it, but it will void your warranty. Kind of like what I said about the Monport. It can be done because somewhere there's 12 or 24 volts being sent to something in order to make that pump kick on and off. It could be done, but it would definitely void your warranty.
Yeah. So I didn't mention this. I know I've been talking with you about it, but I believe I have all the parts I need to upgrade the air on the Reno 45. And as a matter of fact, there's a plug on the back right by the air pump that is almost the perfect size for these pass-through air port things that I've got. So I'm hoping if I get time, it's not the top thing on my priority list, but I'm hoping to get that done soon. But hopefully we'll be able to put that together so people can kind of take a look at that. It's going to be similar to what you would do on, your typical Ruida controller and some of these other lasers, but this is a Top Wisdom controller. So the wires you plug into the board, where you do that is a little bit different. But other than that, it's going to be very similar to what others have done and what I will probably end up doing on the OhmTech Maker as well. So, but yeah, it's that's another one of those projects that's on the list that if I get some time and can do it this weekend, I will. Otherwise, I hope to get to it in the next couple of weeks because I know a few other people have been asking me about that, and I think that'll make that laser a lot better.
Yeah, air assist is one of those things that they keep upgrading the power output and everything, but it's like everybody wants to use the same pump for air assist. Yeah. And like with the Monport, that one hose was as big as my finger. And like the bigger the hose, it's going to take that pump a minute to build up enough pressure inside that line to be noticeable at the nozzle. And so you've got a delayed reaction from your air assist at best. But now once I took that big hose out and redone it and replumbed it and put it on shop air, it worked great. Matter of fact, Monport even reached out to me wanting my parts list basically of what I did to do the swap over and what all I took out of theirs. And I know they're still working on the machine. And like I said, it's not a ditch at the company. They did say that was a special branch, I guess, of the company that's doing that machine. It's not the same folks that do the other ones or whatever.
Awesome. So, Chuck, I just did 22 millimeters a second, 100% power, single pass with lowering at 1 millimeter. And it did cut through. You could possibly go 23 because I backed it down from 28 to 25 and then jumped down to 22 and it dropped out. So a little bit more air. I think it would do it a little bit faster.
Yeah. Jim said he's taking apart his P2 already. Bad wire. I wonder if it's just a pump swap. You could, or I mean, you could put a relay on it, or there's a lot of things you could do.
Tim, I've got some of it, but I haven't used it on anything yet. But yeah, that's I want to do some playing. I may even I'll have to see if my ink cartridge is still good. I might even drag out the M1 Ultra and try that on there as well. But
you got some. They make a paint.
They make they've got a true flat. They've got the
primer.
Yeah, the primer based.
Yeah, I used some of it the other day on that sign that I did. because I was going to have to spray the letters with this pink spray paint or whatever. So I used some of it for that. I liked it. I like the coverage. It saves you time on painting because one coat and it looked good. So instead of having to go over it like 2 or 3 coats like you would if it was actual plywood, I did one simple coat and bam, it was done. Now it was a very generous one coat, but it was one coat. Matter of fact, where's that picture at? I'll pull it up. I post a lot of pictures, and videos, and shorts, stuff. Well, I know I did that thing somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah, here it is, right here. Yep. That is actually the True Flat primed, and I just went over it with the pink, and it actually had a really good look. After this picture was taken, I went and clear coated the whole thing, which I'm hoping they're going to use a paint pen to write on it because I don't know what else is going to stick to a clear coat. But I couldn't not clear coat it. I was like, I got to at least clear coat this thing.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
All right. It's an hour and 52 minutes and 6 seconds. If you hadn't already, guys, go check out the Laser Engraving community page. It's been a little busy in there here lately. Lots of different folks posting questions, comments, just showing off their equipment, their projects, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a good place to be. And you can also put yourself on the map so that when we get to doing some moving around, which hopefully in 136 days, I'll have a little more freedom and I can move around, maybe do some traveling to different events and so forth. We'll know exactly where you guys are so we can schedule meet and greets or whatever. So we'll see. Fluffy. What? Did I miss this one? We did the drawing earlier. I was, like I said, and I wanted to try to keep it in the members area, but there were some regulations that I felt like probably were my best interest to avoid conflicting with because of there were some issues. So we wound up having to do it in a public live, and so we did that. But now we do still have more stuff coming, and I've got the meet and greet for those local folks in October that I'm going to do a drawing at it also. So the drawing for Fluffy. Can't nobody have Fluffy. There she is. She's like, all right, it's time to go back to bed. So yeah, she's going back to bed. She's got a box, like air filter. I think it's air filters for my air conditioner that's I've set up there that she's made into a new bed.
Mm-hmm.
She's upside down snoring yesterday when I was in here working, trying to make a video.
Yeah, we did some digging trying to find a way to follow the rules, the intention of the rules, the letter of the law with that. But yeah, it really, they want you to keep them public. They don't want you to make people jump through too many hoops for them and such. So, so we're going to continue to look at that. I've been talking with other people to figure out what qualifies. But yeah, it's a little frustrating. And
yeah,
I mean, you wouldn't think it's so hard to give away free stuff.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that complicated until we started talking about it, and then I started researching it, and I'm like, man, they can, like technically, I've seen lots of giveaways that technically violated that, and the chances, people would argue, and even me, I'm like, the chances of somebody doing something or saying something about it is probably pretty slim. But there again, I'm one of those kind of people that I do rub people the wrong way sometimes, and they might not like me. And so all it would really take would be one person to report me, say something about it, whatever. and YouTube would probably get involved, and it's just a big mess. But there are other ways of doing things. So I really wanted to do it, members only, which regular viewers only for sure, because I didn't announce it. I didn't put advertisements out there or anything like this, because this was not something that I did with Sane Smart or anything like that. This was just me trying to give back to you guys, and the people that were in here are in here on a regular basis, and so forth and so on. There's still some things that I'm wanting to do, that I'm going to do. I just got to figure out how to do it and stay out of trouble. But yeah, we'll get it done.
Yep. Unfortunately, when you put yourself out there on the internet and people decide they don't like you, some of them make it their goal to do whatever they can to make things difficult for you. So, we appreciate everyone that's here and that's been following us and supporting us. We want to do our best to give back to you. So we'll some of it may, just like we did today, have to be just pop up in the lives. It's technically free and open for anybody, but we don't want to do it as a promo to get one-time viewers coming in and grabbing the stuff. But
Bespokes, and I'll explain it to you, because this blew my mind. The way the law reads, if there is a payment to enter required, i.e., you've got to give me this, or you've got to give me that, or you've got to pay for this, or you got to pay for that, they consider it a lottery at that point, technically. Now, me and it's just not the same, but by the rules and stuff that they've got out there, they consider that to be a lottery, because they say that you're charging a fee in order to be eligible to win the prize. And in order for it to not be a lottery, it has to be a game of skill, which I don't know how you would do that. But the only other option is it has to be available for anybody, like for the public. There has to be basically there can't be any requirement to purchase, requirement to buy, requirement. There can't be any requirements per se to do the drawing, which you start reading into that, and man, that's pretty, technically a lot of these guys that say, hey, we're going to give this away, but you got to like this and follow that and subscribe to this and go, leave a comment over here. Technically, if you look at that, the law says that if you have to do something that is overly inconvenient, which I don't know who determines what that is, that it could be considered a, what do they call it? A payment, or there's another word they used, a technical word they used, but it's basically just something that you required. So the only way we could do it was basically to do it in a public forum that anybody could join, with something that anybody watching could do. And so that's what we had to do. And we'll figure out a way to get around it. So we'll, it's just going to take me a little while. And I want to get those things done, because I done told everybody I was going to. But me and Steve spent like a week back and forth debating it and trying to find ways around it. And so, yeah, compensation, I guess, would be a good word. They call it something else in the legal speak, because I was looking up the definitions of all the words. Like I said, I've been in the business of enforcing law for a long time, and you have to read the definitions of stuff when you're reading the law, because the law itself is only half of the equation. The definition of things is where everything else is at. So yeah, it's it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't understand it, and I want to find a way around it. But at the same time, with me fixing to be retired and kind of wanting this to help pay for my insurance and stuff, the last thing I need is for YouTube or Facebook or whoever to try to cause me some hardship because somebody got mad because we were giving away something, or they didn't win it, or whatever the case may be. So against what I wanted to do was just, say, forget this crap and do what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. But, my common sense had to kick in a little bit. My grumpy old man had to go away. But we'll figure it out. Like I said, there's ways. But that's why That's why all these, like when you see these things where they're talking about no purchase necessary to win, you may enter by drawing this and putting it. So, in other words, the only thing I would have accomplished if I'd have tried to keep it to members only, I'd have had to have a sign up form that people that weren't members could sign up and do it that way, and that takes the whole members only thing away from it completely. So,
well, I think the crux of it is finding out what is meant by making it too difficult to enter, because a lot of those, they'll say no purchase necessary to enter. You just have to mail a postcard to whatever with your information. Well, a lot of people aren't going to do that. They're going to type their name in online, but they're not going to take the time to mail something in per se. And the few that do, but it is there's technically a lot of, even YouTube has a lot of requirements that you're supposed to meet as far as how you're handling it and such. So we want to do it, but it's also becoming a little bit of a headache with it. So we're going to try to find the best way to do it. So
yeah, Robert. So what basically what I did is I did not find anywhere in the rules that said I had to advertise it ahead of time. There's nothing in there anywhere. So what I tried to do was I gave my members a heads up that tonight was going to be the night in the members area. That way they knew what was coming. So, you know what I mean? And there's nothing that says I can't do that. There's nothing that says I have, I can't call Steve and go, hey, Steve, I'm going to do this tonight, So, but we're going to come up with a way that we can do it and make sure that we don't get in any pickles and be able to give back still one way or the other. But that was the whole thing, is by doing it in the member area, they could say, well, not everybody's going to want to be the member, and they do have to pay, even though it's like, very, very cheap and all these kind of things. But I'm going to come up with some way. I'll figure it out. We got plenty more things coming and all that kind of stuff. But I told you guys last week that we'd be getting rid of it within the week. And so that's what I had to do. Because I done told you guys we're going to. So there we go.
All right. Let's wrap it up on an on topic or a more on brand question. D Diggs, any glass engraving experience with the OhmTech Polar 50 watt? You've got the most experience with Polar.
It does glass okay. I mean, it's not. Bring it out of focus, because anytime you're doing glass, to me, I like the look of it being slightly raised out of focus. But just testing. I do find that the cheaper glass from Dollar General, places like that, seems to have some really smooth engravings. If the engraving is too rough and like feels scratchy, there's a really good chance that you're going too slow and getting it too hot. And if you do that enough, it will explode the glass or cause the glass to break or whatever. So that's one of those things.
Yeah, I'd start with lower power, higher speed on your tests, and then work your way back. With CO2, you shouldn't have to do any. You don't have to add any paint or anything to it, but you can get too hot, and it'll at minimum it'll do more of like a fracturing instead of a frosting. At worst, it'll shatter the glass because it gets too hot. So start low power, like 20%, high speed of like. I don't know, what's the top speed on that? 500-600?
I think that one's 500.
500. So I don't know, maybe like I'd start my testing at like 350 to 500 and back it off from there.
400, I think, is actual usable speed. I think anything faster than that, I haven't.
So maybe the 300 to 400 speed on your speed test, and start around like 20 to 30% power at most. I mean, most of the time, probably I'm trying to think back to the original laser I did, because I did more glass with that one. That was a 50 to 60 watt, and I want to say I was 20 to 25% on the power for most of my stuff. So,
yeah.
So anyway,
well, Beast folks, I have gave back and give back and a lot of stuff. A lot of it I'm not advertised, and I understand some folks might not be understanding of the situation. But there's 4 or 5 folks in the members group and so forth that knows, and most everybody that knows me knows that I'm telling you the truth, and I'm going to do the best that I can to take care of folks and do what needs to be done. Now, I will say, if I tell you guys I'm going to do something and I find out that it could get me in trouble, I'm probably not going to do it in that situation. So if you want to try to say that maybe I should have done my homework a little bit better and done a little more research before I said anything, then yeah, I probably should have. And I made a mistake, and I can promise you it won't be the last time I make a mistake. But if you in any way think that I might have tried to defraud you or, lie to you, let me know. Give me your address, and I'll refund every penny ever that you've ever given me. But that is not what's happening. I'm trying to make the best out of a situation that is kind of screwed up, because I feel like I ought to be able to just give to whoever I want to, what I want to. But at the same time, I'm not going to take no crap for people, giving me a hard time about a mistake. So I'm trying to step on any toes. And this is just my personal opinion, but I'm working through a problem, and I'll figure out a solution eventually. But until then, I just ask for you to be patient. And, like Mama used to say, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, just maybe don't say nothing for a moment, because it does irritate me. Me and Steve had some pretty heated discussions about this, and my wife. And I don't want to do anything to get myself in any trouble and have to go back to a full-time job because I did something I shouldn't have and got my YouTube channel shut down. So if that's wrong, I apologize, guys. But y'all know where my heart is, and if y'all don't, the good Lord does, and that's all that matters. So anyway, I I'm a man of my word, and I'm a man of I guess you would say commitment to what I say. But I can't stand it when somebody wants to make a big deal out of something that has irritated me already. But anyway, we'll move on from that.
All right. Well, we are 2:07 on time. I know you're still 136 days from retirement, and I'm not even counting the days yet. So we both got to work tomorrow morning. But want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Hopefully it was a good time. It's always great answering some questions. That's the meat of our show this on Sunday nights, is getting on here and trying to help you out with what you got going on with lasers and CNC routers. Haven't done a lot of 3D printing lately, although I have been looking at that Elegoo printer.
Yeah, I've been using mine, but I'm happy with what I got, to be honest with you. I want a P1S eventually.
Well, that's the thing, is that the Elegoo, what is it, the Centauri? I think it's equivalent to P1S, but it's like half the price. So
well, now that might not be a bad thing if it does as good a job. I'll let you get one first.
Well, I'd have to pre-order it, and they say they'll be delivered by July 31st, and I'm like, it's like 6 weeks, but or actually more than 6 weeks. Anyway, that's what we do here on the Sunday Night Live. So we hopefully got everybody's questions asked. I know we missed a few, but we hope we'll see you back next week. Otherwise, go check out our channels, check out some videos, leave some comments, thumbs up, smiley faces, all that fun stuff. It all helps out, because we could always use the encouragement and whatnot. So
yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's been fun, and I'm I'm steadily learning, guys. Yeah, Steve, and that's y'all got to understand. 3 years ago, I didn't know I didn't know the first thing about a YouTube page, how to do a YouTube page, the rules involved with doing a YouTube page, blah blah blah. And it's been a learning process for me, trying to figure out how to run a successful business, how to do what needs to be done, how to balance the content creation, dealing with companies. But then when I do deal with companies, trying to, do things it's all been a learning experience. And this past week was one of those learning experiences. Is, you know, I've thought it's my stuff. I want to give it to somebody. I'm going to give it to somebody. You know, like and there's several of you in the crowd that have walked through that door over there and walked out of here with stuff. Because in that situation, there's no rules. You know what I mean? So I'm going to continue to do what I do. But I have to navigate through the processes and keep my business viable, so that my wife, my daughter, and I can, you know, because I'm really looking forward to this whole 136 days. I've been counting it down for quite a while, but I've got to keep this viable as far as a business goes until I get tired of working, I guess, until I can get some Social Security or something else started. So that's what we're doing. We're all learning and growing and moving together, and it's been a heck of it's been like drinking from a fire hose with all this content stuff, especially like this year, because this year, and I know y'all probably heard it if you watch enough channels, but the whole business side of things has went on a bit of a roller coaster these first 4 months or 5 months of this year. It's been different. So.
All right. Well, let's wrap her up.
All right. I appreciate you. Yeah, that's about it. Anybody else? Last call. Everybody got any questions? But if not, it's 9:13, guys. See ya. And next week it'll be what, Steve? 129. All right. See you guys. Steve's mad.
See you, everyone.